They told us the town was evacuated. That was the official story, but I know better because I never left, and neither did hundreds of others. The roads out of town were sealed by military checkpoints within 24 hours of the first confirmed meteor contamination broadcast. Soldiers in sealed suits waved people through inspection tents. Anyone who coughed, stumbled, or complained about abdominal pain was escorted into black transport trucks that never came back. They said it was quarantine. I started noticing something worse. The trucks were leaving town empty and coming back full. The sack on my front door hatched 2 nights after I found it. I didn't sleep. I just sat in the living room watching it swell and twitch under a desk lamp. The membrane stretched thinner and thinner until I could see the thing inside clearly. Spindly legs folded tightly against its body, translucent skin pulsing faint green. At 3:09 a.m. it split open. The creature that crawled out was no bigger than my hand, but it moved with terrifying confidence. 8 needle-thin legs carried it across the floor in sharp, precise bursts. It didn't look around like an animal exploring. It moved like it already knew the layout of my house. It headed straight toward me. I crushed it with a lamp before I could think. Green fluid splattered across the carpet, sizzling faintly like acid. The smell filled the room, sweet and rotten at the same time. I almost threw up. Then my phone buzzed, a town emergency alert. Curfew extended. Report all biological specimens. Do not attempt to destroy infected material. I stared at the stain soaking into my carpet. Too late. That afternoon I heard helicopters again. Lower this time, rattling windows. I climbed onto my roof to see what they were doing. They weren't searching. They were dropping something into the woods. Large metal containers slammed into the tree line, each one bursting open on impact, spilling clouds of grey powder that drifted like ash across the hills. I thought it was pesticide until the forest started screaming. Not animals, people. The sound lasted for almost 20 minutes before fading into horrible, wet silence. The power outages stopped that night. Instead, the lights in every house stayed on. Even in abandoned homes, every window glowed, turning the town into a sickly yellow maze visible for miles. And that's when they came back. Not just one creature anymore, dozens. They moved across rooftops, power lines, radio towers, massive spider-like silhouettes crawling through the artificial glow. Their bodies had changed since the comet impact. Longer limbs, harder shells. Their abdomens bulged with clusters of pale sacs, each one twitching faintly with movement inside. They weren't hiding anymore. They were harvesting. I watched one lower itself into my neighbor's backyard. The man who lived there, Mr. Halverson, stepped outside holding a shotgun, screaming at it to get off his property. He fired twice. The bullets hit, but they barely slowed it down. The creature lunged forward with impossible speed, wrapping him in silk so quickly he looked like he'd been erased mid-sentence. He was still screaming when it dragged him up the side of his house. Then he stopped. The creature stabbed one needle-thin leg through the cocoon. The entire bundle jerked violently, then began swelling from the inside. I had to turn away, but not before I saw the creature gently place the cocoon alongside 6 others already hanging from the power line like grotesque lanterns. The military finally made a public announcement the next morning. They admitted the comet was biological. They admitted it was reproducing. What they didn't admit, but accidentally revealed, was worse. During the press conference, one of the scientists slipped. Just for a second, long enough for the microphone to catch it. "These aren't adults," she said quietly before someone cut the feed. That night I broke into the observatory again. If there were answers anywhere, it would be there. The building was abandoned, computers still running on backup generators. The telescope had been left aimed at the sky, tracking the comet's orbital trail. I found research logs downloaded from military satellites, thermal scans, movement predictions, population growth models. The files estimated thousands of organisms already spread across 3 counties. But one document was labeled Migration Pattern Projection. It showed a map of the country, with glowing green paths branching outward from our town like veins. And at the center of those veins was the crater. The final log entry read, "Primary organism has begun constructing brood structure." I didn't understand until I looked through the telescope. The crater wasn't empty anymore. Something massive was rising from it. A mountain of webbing stretched across the impact site, layered and spiraled like a cocoon the size of a stadium. The ground around it pulsed faintly, as if the Earth itself had a heartbeat.